Hey, I'm Dr. Deondre Rutues. So again, I'm the West Side's only business psychologist. What that means is I take psychology to a business environment and utilize, psychological assessments to improve efficiency and productivity overall. The reason why I'm the only one is because IO psychology is still not as well known as some of the other specialties within psychology. But I look forward to making it well known, especially right here where I'm from on the west side of Chicago. Right here is my office. Don't mind my little sign. We got to figure that part out. But either way, my office is located 5044 West Madison. So I'm right on Madison and LeClaire. And that's where I do my major work. That office is the Rutues Center for Business and People Development, as you can see from my little cards right there. A little bit about myself. So again, I have an MBA, an MA in IO psychology, as well as a PhD in business psychology. Just recently got that in 2024 from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. I have a lot of work history from various backgrounds. So, in the Fortune 500, Coca-Cola, Nestle, UPS, as a supervisor there. Public sector, I've worked for the Cook County Sheriff's Office, as well as I've worked for CPS as a teacher. I've also worked in the private sector. I have my own business, a LLC, Devron LeClaire.
Is that if I'm coming?
Yeah, Devron LeClaire, in which I currently work for New York University School of Law, doing work with the policing project. Also, I work for the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force, doing what I call courageous, well, not I call, but our project is Courageous Conversations, where I work with Black men who are currently experiencing opioid use, as well as those in recovery. At my office, we do wisdom circles where I have 3 facilitators with lived experience that lead those males through different workshops, if you will, focusing on racism, masculinity, trauma, grief, emotional health, you name it. Ultimately, we're trying to learn how come some of our Black males have gone down the path of utilizing drugs, especially as it relates to the overdose death rates, which shows that they are 10 times greater likelihood to experience an overdose death than their counterparts. And I also work for Future Energy Enterprises, which is a small boutique energy efficiency organization where I've learned a ton about clean energy, and I'm looking to bring that to the community right now. I've taught from 3rd grade all the way up to PhD students. And I am a member of the district council, so I'm an elected official as well. I represent the 15th district. And I really love human behavior, decision-making, and overall people development. I know I got community. Our people reside within the community, so, it fits. But I'm also about the people, and you'll learn a lot more about that. My dissertation topic, as I mentioned on the stage, was psychological capital. Our psychological resources to experience hope, self-efficacy, resiliency, and optimism. Studies show that when you develop psychological capital, especially in a work environment, you can increase work engagement, you increase job satisfaction, you increase what they call positive organizational citizenship behaviors, while decreasing stress, burnout, turnover, negative organizational citizenship behaviors. Basically, everything that you want to see positively goes up, everything you want to see negatively goes down. I view my community as an organization, so I brought psychological capital into the community. That dissertation topic that I had focused on nonprofits that serve the community. My hope is that that if I built their psychological capital, they in turn would be better suited to deal with the challenges of our community. With that in mind, this workshop focuses on how we can harness psychological capital to become more engaged with our community. So, building engagement through mindset and behavior. So first, we got to talk about how engagement actually happened, right? Because there is a psychological process behind the way that we engage our community. First, we start with a trigger. The trigger is the what happened, right? The what happened could be a one-on-one conversation. It could be a flyer. It could be joining meetings like this, right? Now, the thing about it is we don't consider how do people experience those things. How are they experiencing our one-to-one conversation? How are they experiencing coming to events like this? How do they experience seeing a flyer dropped off with no context behind it, right? When you look at that, That's the interpretation. How is it received? Right? Then we move on to the next process. After interpretation, which is the thinking about the thing, you got to feel a way about the thing. So how do the people feel about all of this that is going on, around them, in them, with them? Those are things that we have to consider when we are actually out here engaging. The behavior is then what they do with how they feel. We all act that way. Our emotions drive our behavior. We act on the things based on the way that we feel about them. That's the same way that the people that we're trying to reach behave. Last thing is the outcome. What happened as a result of these engagements, these one-on-ones, these workshops, these flyer drops? Did we actually get people to come out? That matters, right? So the thing that I want to really impress upon you is that engagement is driven by perception. All of these engaging activities that we do, no matter what they are, have some sort of interpretation attached to it and how people are receiving it. So we have to consider that when we're out here trying to engage our community, especially if we feel like engagement is low. What can we do to change the way we're engaging? PSYCAP, right? This idea that you can build hope, optimism, resiliency, and efficacy, that could potentially be an answer. So, yes, sir. Yeah, come on with it. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
It's also a lot of it on this handout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, PSYCAP is our psychological resources to experience hope, self-efficacy, resiliency, and optimism. If utilized properly, it can drive how people engage or disengage with us. Remember, all behavior starts with emotion. We got to change the way that people feel about what we're offering to them before they actually engage with it. The thing is, we got to figure out how we move from a program building phase to a people building phase. All of us are a part of a program. If we approach these things like programs and not as we're trying to bring people into the program, emphasis on the people, then we're going to continue to be where we've been at currently, right? So I am going to play this video here in hopes that it plays.
To make your life better.
Okay.
What is a goal that you want to work? This video is to help you reach the future that you desire. You will learn some key insights from research in positive psychology that will help you overcome obstacles and develop your full potential. The psychologist Professor Rick Snyder developed hope theory and stated that hope consists of three components: goals, pathways, and agency. He discovered that hopeful people develop many pathways to reach their goals because they anticipate obstacles and don't expect things to be easy. They have high levels of agency. That means they persist and sustain their motivation to move towards their goals. They're energized and come up with new and different plans to overcome obstacles. Okay, let's get started. Here is how you can use hope theory to make your life better. What is a goal that you want to work on? Make it specific, measurable, and set a deadline so that you know when you reach your goal. Write your goal down. How would you feel if you reach this goal? Make sure it's something that you care about. Let's develop a pathway. How will you reach your goal? Write a pathway down. Often pathways consist of different sub-goals. Hopeful people develop a variety of pathways to be more flexible. Can you think of a different pathway? What is your plan B? What is your plan C? What is your plan D? Hopeful people anticipate obstacles, both internal and external. Research by Professor Gabriel Oettingen shows that when people visualize the obstacles and make concrete plans about how to deal with them, they are more likely to reach their goals. This technique is called mental contrasting with implementation intentions. By making concrete plans, we can address our obstacles and gain energy to take action. Sometimes there are ways around obstacles, and sometimes you just need to push through. What are obstacles that may hold you back? Think of ones that are both within you and ones that are external. What is one action you can take to overcome that obstacle? If happens, then I will. Oftentimes, when we are struggling in our goal pursuit, it is a sign that we're doing something new. Research has shown that the brain is similar to a muscle. The more you use it, the smarter you become.
Mm-hmm.
So struggling can actually mean that you're learning. However, make sure that you're evaluating the path that you're taking and consider other ways to reach your goals. If you find yourself losing passion, or it seems like you exhausted all pathways, you may consider looking for alternative goals, and you can use this process again to increase the chances of reaching your next goal. So now that you have identified a goal and multiple pathways to reach it, what is your next step, and when will you take it?
All right. So, hope is about the goal, the pathways that you create to reach the goal, and then the agency, just the continued exertion of energy that you have to meet that goal. Because as you saw from the illustration with the car, you know, you go one way and you get blocked, you go another way, you get blocked, you go another way, right? So you do have to have agency, you have to have energy to keep moving forward. Now, one of the ways that I love to remember this one is the Tamala Mann song, Truth is on time, options are few. Right? When people run out of hope, they don't have options. So hope theory suggests that if you create multiple options for yourself, you don't run out of hope. So that's the thing that we have to think about, especially when we're engaging. So one of the things that I did here is just, let me make it, okay, let's see if it's going to act right. Okay, so one of the things that I did here is just give you an example of an engagement that you can undertake while you're trying to set this theory in practice, right? So first of all, you got to set a clear goal. And I want y'all to think about this because I'm going to try to leave some time. I know we started a little late and then we got video issues, but I'm going to try to leave a little time where you can come up with a goal, and then, you know, we'll share out and I'll help you work through the process of psychological capital, if you will. But this is just a couple goals that I thought about that are really realistic for the way that we operate. But you have to be a little bit more definitive. So some people just say, I want people at my event. Being definitive means I want 20 people at my event. I want some young men to be a part of my program. Being definitive means I want 5 young men. So for the purposes of going through this whole workshop, I just utilized the 20 people, right? So when we talk about creating multiple pathways, we already know some of the pathways that are currently being used, relationship-based, right? That model means you ask one person to bring one person with them. We know that. We also have incentive-based pathway, food, gift cards, stipends, whatever the case may be. We also utilize those currently, right? Now, if those two things are not helping you meet the goal that you set for yourself, then you have to have some alternatives. So one of the things that I wanted to do with you all was to make sure I brought some different type of alternatives that I don't think is being currently used. And if they are, then we should all implement them almost right away, right? So I found 2 other techniques that I thought could be helpful in this case, right? One is an identity-based invitation. So instead of trying to bring a collective of people together, because one of the things that we like to do is, let's say somebody's looking for a job, but our work focuses on public safety. We ask people to come to public safety meetings that they don't care because they need a job. So the reality is we need to start doing identity-based invitations, or we can do. What that invitation looks like is we're bringing people together who are serious about finding a job, about public safety. You fit the bill, right? So we're talking to the person now. We're not casting a wide net. We're finding who we're looking for because we're directly engaging that individual. The other one is about potentially looking at this as a commitment ladder. Sometimes we go all in. You got to come to the next meeting. We don't know the person's name, right? A micro commitment ladder starts first with something that's simple when we engage with a person. A like or a comment, maybe you just walk up to your neighbor and say, how what do you think about public safety? And just leave it there. Then the next time you come back to them, and then you can ask them, man, if you could change anything about the community or public safety in general, what would it be? You're engaging. Next time you come back, y'all might just kick it for a minute and talk for 5-10 minutes about public safety in general. And then the last thing is like you meet them again and say, man, you know what? We've been having a couple conversations. I don't know what your work schedule looks like, but there's some meetings that I think you would be perfect to attend because I have not heard these ideas before. They may not attend that meeting right there, but if you keep on them about these meetings and keep having these conversations, eventually you'll bring them in, right? So that's micro commitments, right? And so when we're talking about trying to get 20 people at our events, and we've tried the one-to-one model, we've tried food, now let's try an alternative. Let's talk about focusing on people and their identity, and then let's also try to get micro commitments. So those are just two alternatives, right? So after we build up a little hope, then we move to efficacy. Efficacy is all about the confidence. It's our belief that we can succeed at tasks. Let's see if this is going to play. Nope. Okay.
No, but you're going those multiple pathways and we're making it.
Got to make it happen.
Efficacy theory. Efficacy theory refers to an individual's belief that they're capable of performing tasks. The higher your self-efficacy, the more confidence you have in your abilities to succeed. So, in difficult situations, those with high self-efficacy will try harder to master the challenge. Feedback influences self-efficacy. Individuals high in self-efficacy seem to respond to negative feedback with increased effort and motivation, while those with low self-efficacy are likely to lessen their effort after negative feedback. The most important source of increasing self-efficacy is an inactive mastery, that is, gaining relevant experience. If you've been able to do the job successfully in the past, you're more confident that you'll do it in the future. The second source is vicarious modeling, becoming more confident because you see someone else doing the task.
Mm-hmm.
The third source is verbal persuasion. We become more confident when someone convinces us we have the skills necessary to be successful. People who are intelligent, conscientious, and emotionally stable are much more likely to have high self-efficacy, but some researchers argue that self-efficacy is less important than prior research would suggest. They believe it's partially a byproduct in a smart person with a confident personality.
I got it this time. I know to exit out and then. Okay. So to build self-efficacy, right, starting off with inactive mastery, we have to think about our small wins, right? So let's just say in the past, we've been able to get 20 people in the room. And that's amazing because, doing this work, you can get down because you'll have 20 people this day, you'll have 7 people the next day, and sometimes the numbers just keep dwindling. But the reality is you always have the ability to pull back on what you've done in the past. And that's the 20 people that you've gotten. And when you've gotten them in the room, then you've gotten some level of engagement out of them, right? What we would like to do, though, is use some vicarious experience. And what that means is pulling on the people who've actually done it more successfully than we have. So that means finding somebody that has actually had 30 to 50 people in the room And they've been able to do that consistently. Because what you start to do if you've gotten 20 and then your numbers dwindle is you start to lose you start to lose confidence in yourself and the faith that you can actually make that happen, right? Which leads to, burnout in some respects. But then if you go find somebody who has done it on a greater level than yourself and y'all compare notes and you talk to that person and then the next event you get 30, you back up on the high, right? And so that's something that we as engaging folks need to consider. Who in our circle is doing it better than we are, and how can we get in space with them so we can ask them what they are doing? Because that helps boost our confidence by seeing somebody that's as relatable as us